Hello everyone, it's Trevor from GraphicCare.ca, and today we are going to show you how to do an installation of Magento on Mac OS X on Snow Leopard. We're not going to be using any fancy or commercial software. We're just going to take a basic installation of Snow Leopard and get it going so that we can run Magento reliably. There are probably some other videos on YouTube on how to do this, and I've looked at some of them, but they're all using different ways of doing it. We're going to go completely and do it from scratch. So the first thing you're going to need is the MySQL database, which is open source. It's not installed on the client version of Mac OS X. It is on the server, but we're assuming we want to install this on the client. So the first thing you need to do is go out to the internet and go to mysql.com and click on the downloads button. And the version we need is community server, so click that. Scroll down. Web browser should automatically detect you are running OS X. And the version we want here is for 10.6, which is Snow Leopard. We're on an Intel machine, so we want the 64-bit and the DMG archive. Click download, and you should end up with a DMG file like this. I'll just hide my browser here for a moment. Once you download the DMG file, you want to install the PKG, which is the main database. This will take a few moments to do. Just agree to the license agreement. Give it your password. We're waiting for that to finish. On the disk image, there are two other installations. The startup item, which is optional, that will cause MySQL server to start up every time you boot. That's optional. The other one that's important, I think, though, is the MySQL preference pane. If you install this, it'll ask you if you want to install it for this user or for all users on this computer. That's a choice. I'm going to install for this user only. So we'll leave that open for a moment. We're done over here with the installation, so we can close that. To start the MySQL server, it's very simple. Just go into your preference pane, click on MySQL, start the server, issue your password, and it's up and running. We're done with that. We're also done with the disk image so that we can eject that when we're done. The next step, obviously, is to interact with the server, the MySQL server, so that we can install or create at least a container database for Magento installation. To do that, you can use a variety of different software packages that are freely available on the internet or web-based ones and so on and so forth. You know, I'm a man, I got a big hairy chest. I like to use the command line, so we'll use Terminal. Terminal is located under the Applications folder in a Utilities folder. The command line to interact with the MySQL server is called MySQL. Now, if I was to type this into the terminal or the shell here and press enter, it's not going to work, and that's because being not installed as part of Mac OS X by default, it doesn't know about the command because it's been installed by the installer in a location that the shell doesn't know about. So I'm going to show you how you can very quickly get around that. If you were to type in pico space dot profile, you can create yourself a shell profile file that will be read every time you launch Terminal. If I press enter, I'm into the text editor. Then I can type in alias space MySQL equals / and then I happen to know the full path to the MySQL command line binary, which is /user /local /MySQL /bin /MySQL. Now all we need to do is save this out. So to exit the editor, we just press Control X. We say answer Y to the question here if we want to save our buffer, yes. And then press Return to save the file. We've created our profile file, so to simulate this, I'll just quit the terminal and just launch a fresh one. Now if I was to issue the command again, MySQL, there we are, it's actually working now, so we don't have to worry about where it lives and so on and so forth. Now at this point, however, we still can't create a database because we've logged into MySQL with a user that doesn't have those kind of privileges. So what I'll do is I'll just press quit, go back to the command line, and I'll reissue MySQL, but this time I'll tell it -u for user and specify root. MySQL, when it starts up, starts as a root user, and there's no password assigned for this. Obviously, in a production environment live on the internet, we don't want to do this. It's a security risk, but since we're just developing, this is fine. So I'll just press enter again. To create the database for Magento, the syntax is very easy. We just type in the word create, space, database, space, and the name of our database. In this case, we'll just call it Magento. And we end MySQL syntax with a semicolon. And press return. It's created our database. That's essentially all we have to do at this point. We're done with this. We'll just hit quit, press return, and we will close the terminal temporarily. So our database has now been created. The next part is going to be to go and get the Magento software. So let's go out to the internet again, and you want to go to the website www.magentocommerce.com. On that page, go to downloads and select download Magento, and scroll down. The current release as of today is version 1.4.0.1. I will select the Magento tar.gz format and press download. I will select no thanks, and there's our download coming down. It's only a few megabytes, should take just a few seconds depending on your internet connection. Okay, it's done. Let's go to our downloads folder. I'll just hide our browser one more time. And we will take the Magento software out. The next thing we need to do is to put it into the location where Apache, which is the web server we're going to be using, built into macOS 10, will serve out these files. To do so, we'll just go to hard drive, library, scroll down to web server, go to documents, and just take our file and put it in there. Double click the file and macOS 10 will automatically deflate the file and create a folder in here called Magento. And there we are. There's the Magento in its entirety, all the files that we need. At this point, we'll move on to the next video and we'll show you how you can start the installation process for Magento so that you can continue on where we left off.